How's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man. Unpopular opinions. You hate them, I debate them, so let's We're back with another episode of Let's Fight, the show that I do where I collect all of your guys' hot takes and unpopular opinions and tough questions over on Twitter using that hashtag Let's Fight about anime, manga, otaku culture, whatever the you want me to, I guess, fight you on this show. I collect those and I introduce the best ones and debate about you on your terrible opinions. Y'all should know how this show works already. I've done so many of these in the past. If you want to check out previous episodes of Let's Fights, then links in the description or press that card up on the screen right now. But without further ado, let's fight! As much as I hate to admit it, Danganronpa is only as popular as it is because of TikTok. What? It's really not. If you're talking about like the whole thing where people dress up as Junko on TikTok and do this really cringy TikTok thing, no. Danganronpa is popular because it's a good game. And also because the character designs are like kablamo amazing, especially if you're into cosplay shit. I don't know, man, I played all three of the Danganronpa games and watched the rather questionable anime adaptation, and it's always been popular. Even way before TikTok, because I swear TikTok has only been a thing for like 2 years, maybe? So yeah, clearly you started watching anime in November of 2019, because Danganronpa's been around for a while. 2 is definitely my favorite, which is, oddly enough, the only game that they didn't make an anime adaptation on, so treat that as a gift or a curse. It's up to you, really. Most female seiyuu have annoying voices, especially in hentai. So-called cute voices, quote-unquote, hurt my ears. Well, then you obviously don't deserve the blessed hearings of a lot of female seiyus. Because I think one of the large things about the anime community, or the otaku community, especially here in Japan, is the fact that we get to pick our favorite seiyus, the seiyus that we want to stan. And the good thing is because there are so many female seiyus, especially compared to male seiyus out there, us, male gentlemen of the otaku culture right here can basically pick and choose whatever type of seiyuu we want to stan. And I understand, yes, some female seiyus, especially in Japanese, can be a little bit annoying, degrading in some aspects. And that's just in anime. Don't get me started on the hentai aspect of things, because if you stan a female seiyuu that only does hentai work, you have too much culture for this world. Me personally, as much as I love a lot of her roles, I definitely can't say that I stand Kugimi Adie, because I obviously only know her as like that one lolly tsundere that she plays in every single anime that she's in. My personal female seiyuu stand is a tie between Hanazawa Kana and Sawashiro Miyuki. Probably more leaning towards Sawashiro Miyuki because every role that she does is just blessed to this earth. But yeah, I mean, if you're not into the female seiyus, then you can always stand the male seiyus. Nothing wrong with that. You can stand both if you would like to. That's the amazing thing about the anime and otaku community, is that there are so many seiyus to choose from, both male and female. You don't really have to listen or care about the female seiyus. Go and care about the male seiyus. There's some amazing male seiyus out there that you can froth your pants to. Webcomics are better than mangas since they have colored pages. I mean, for starters, if you buy physical copies and volumes of manga, then there are a lot of cases where it starts off with a couple of pages of full color. But then again, I think that the coolest thing about manga that really differentiates it from colored webcomics, or even just American comics in general, is that it is strictly black and white. And because it is strictly black and white, a lot of mangakas and a lot of manga artists can play around with the use of fine lines and fine details, which sometimes in full colored comics like webcomics and American comics can come off as a little bit tacky. And really, the fact that it is black and white really drives for home, especially for the reader, a lot of imagination. If there is a character in a manga, for example, that is seen to only have white hair, that guy or girl can either have white hair or blonde hair. It's really up to you. Of course, usually the cover of the actual book shows what the intended color of the hair is supposed to be, but you get my idea. And look, that's not to say that I don't dig colored manga whatsoever. I love it when it happens. if we were to say anything, especially going into the hentai side of things, I much preferred full-colored doujinshis compared to black and white doujinshis, of course, depending on the artist at hand. But there are some artists that I have found, mangakas that I have found, that aren't exactly the most amazing when it comes to colored works. Like, yes, of course, there are some absolute prodigies of mangakas that can do both amazing black and white art as well as amazing colored art, like Araki Hiroshiko, for example. God bless you, my man. But then there are other artists that I definitely feel their strength really shines through in their art style when it is in black and white. Take, for example, Nihei Tsutomu, the creator of Blam. I really can't imagine Blam in color because the whole, I guess, atmospheric and very nihilistic view of a post-apocalyptic world that, for example, the setting of Blam is set in, the black and whiteness, the monochrome texture to everything really adds to that feeling. It really adds to the dread that the entire setting is based around. And I think that's why when I watched the Blam anime adaptation, for example, it really threw me off because I was like, oh, this is almost too vibrant to what I'm usually used to. I'm usually used to just straight up black and white, maybe throw in a little bit of gray tones inside of there. That's the most color we'll get. And I love, again, that whole monochromatic feeling of it because it really does emphasize the nihilistic dread of the setting. So again, it really depends on the series at hand as well. Obviously, if you have a very bubblegum pop, very light-hearted series, then yeah, a little bit of color or all color really, you know, is completely fine and it really adds to the flavor. But again, when you're looking at some more like post-apocalyptic, nihilistic, dark series, which manga and webcomics have a ton of, I personally lean more towards the black and white aesthetic. Anime with very little characters suck and are boring. For example, Girls Last Tour, very boring. It would have been better if we got to meet new people. That's a hard disagree on my part, my man, and I'm gonna have to give you that clown card. The first clown card of 2020, let's fight. Congratulations. Here you go. Okay, look, when it comes to Girls Last Tour, the entire premise of that show is to really portray to the audience just how empty and desolate the world at hand has become by really limiting the characters to a very small number. In the case with Girls Last Tour, there are two main characters and like maybe 2 or 3 side characters, especially those that were covered in the anime adaptation. I don't know, I feel in the case with Girls Last Tour, if there was like a group of 20 girls who were going around in this very barren wasteland of an Earth that the entire series is set in, it wouldn't have brought about that same type of dread and post-apocalyptic nature that the series is so good at portraying in an almost light-hearted fashion. Because the great thing about there only being 2 characters in this very slow burner of a show is that the audience has a lot of time to feel adjusted to these characters, really get to know how these characters think in this day-to-day life of them traveling through this very unknown wasteland that they have to go through. And me personally, I'm not a huge fan of series that have like 50,000 characters in it. Like, for example, that's one aspect of Bleach that I really hated, is the fact that there were like 900 million characters that you had to remember for just one arc. And the thing is that a lot of those characters, for example, were kind of just there because they were there. Like, only a select couple of them per arc really served any kind of purpose. Not to say, though, that every single show that has a fuck ton of characters is necessarily bad in any way. It really depends on how the author and the writer really treats and, I guess, organizes the characters in a way that makes you interested to remember 500 characters' names in a show that perhaps might not come about. And a great example of a show that does that right is Hunter x Hunter. Of course, during the first half of the show, there are a very select number of characters that you have to follow through, predominantly the main 4 that you go through during the Hunter exam arc. But then when you get to the later half of the series, where there are many diverging parts of the story that you have to follow, Togashi does a really fucking good job of not only making sure that every character and every minute detail gets explored to its extent, but also really makes you, I guess, glad as a reader to be like, oh yeah, I remember that character, and I'm glad I remember that character because there he is right there after however many chapters of him or her being away. And the best part about it in Hunter x Hunter is that those characters actually serve somewhat of a purpose, regardless of if it's a character that we see for one chapter or perhaps even one frame of the manga. But yeah, when it comes to Girls Last Tour, I think the number of characters in that show was absolutely perfect for, again, the nihilistic dread of an atmosphere that show was trying to portray to you, and the, I don't know, just few characters doesn't necessarily mean lazy or bad writing. In fact, I would argue that a lot of times, the fewer the characters you have in a story, the harder it is to write, because you really have to make the readers pay attention to those very few characters. And Girls Last Tour and many other manga and anime series do a pretty alright job at that. The new seasonal anime are going downhill each and every year, not for the reason that the anime industry is dying, but for the same cliche story plot that I see so commonly with these shows. It would be great to see a change in plot when it comes to new series instead of that. Now see, this is what I like to call the Otaku Enigma, because it is something that happens to everybody at this point, and obviously the person who tweeted this, they're going through that shit right now. The Otaku Enigma is simply that the more anime you watch, the more you get sick of anime. Because we do run into this problem of seeing every single new seasonal lineup and thinking to ourselves, wow, I feel like I've already watched all of these shows. Because you think back to all of the previous shows that you've watched over the however many years or seasons that you have personally been watching anime, and you immediately are quick to dictate, oh yes, this show is exactly like this show for this reason. Therefore, I don't really need to watch this show. It's not original. I've already seen a show like this. And I think that's the biggest problem with the seasonal lineups of anime right now, and I guess the problem that the anime industry is currently going through. It's that it's becoming more and more difficult to come up with original ideas in anime because there are just more and more people who are running into this Otaku Enigma. There are more and more experienced anime watchers who are, again, quick to be like, I don't have to watch this show because I've already seen 7 other shows like this from the past 10 years. And it's not so much the fault of the actual creators of that anime or the creator of the original source material, because with more and more media covering more and more different ideas comes more and more of a struggle for new writers and creators to think up of something 100% original. That shit is really hard to do. Especially in the anime world, because not only do you need to come up with an original story, you need to come up with an original story presented in an original way. And it's really difficult, especially with the tens and thousands of anime series that have already been created, to come up with something as original as that in this modern day and age. And listen, I totally understand how you feel with this particular tweet, because I have run into this problem many times. In fact, your favorite anime YouTuber who you watch religiously for a long time has probably run into this problem several times in their life. And it really sucks for us because we love watching anime, we love reading manga, we love doing what we do. But it really sucks when we look at a new seasonal lineup and think to ourselves, there is nothing new in this lineup. There is nothing that interests me anymore. There's nothing original in this lineup anymore. When, if you actually look closely and actually take the time to go and watch some of these shows, beneath the lines, there may be some original shows. I mean, at least for me, last year, 2019, some of those shows were BStars and Carol and Tuesday. These, even though the themes that they're exploring and the way that they're exploring them isn't exactly new, just the feeling of this show was new and refreshing, and it's really difficult to explain to someone who doesn't understand this feeling why we feel that way about these shows. So yeah, I agree in the fact that I don't think the anime industry is exactly dying, it's just becoming more and more difficult to pertain to these long-time fans of anime and long-time fans of this medium who have sat through and experienced and watched all sorts of different shows that have already been covered in all sorts of unique ways. But that's the great thing about being an anime watcher in 2020, right? Is that we have a choice to watch something or not because of the almost infinite amount of choices that we can make even within a seasonal lineup. You have like 50 to 100 new shows coming out every season. You go back 10-15 years ago, you were lucky to get 20 per season. Berserk 2016 wasn't a total failure. Yes, they skipped out on some important stuff and the 3D was very shaky sometimes, but it felt like some of the 2D bits were going in the right direction. No, it was a failure. Listen, man, I've seen some pretty terrible anime adaptations in my life. And I don't mean to sound like a weeaboomer, but out of all of the series that have been adapted into an anime from a manga series, the absolute difference between the Berserk manga and the 2016 and 2017 Berserk anime was just catastrophic. It was like the anime Chernobyl just happened.
Berserk 2016 is an awful adaptation.
I saw it. You're confused.
It was pretty fateful.
And here's the thing that most frustrates me and a lot of the Berserk fans, especially from the manga, the Berserk manga fans, about the 2016-2017 adaptation. It's that the anime industry has already had experience creating a somewhat successful anime adaptation of Berserk back in the 90s. And I implore you, to everybody who is a fan of the Berserk manga and who watched the Berserk 2016-2017 adaptations, to go and watch the 90s adaptation, because it genuinely is probably the best thing we'll get when it comes to the Berserk anime adaptation. And one thing I don't understand about how you said that some of the 2D elements were okay. What 2D elements are you talking about? Because Berserk 2016-2017, from my memory, was completely 3D animated. Like, characters, backgrounds, fight scenes, everything was 3D animated. That's why the entire thing looked like absolute ass cheeks. But again, if you want to watch some good 2D Berserk and 2D animation of Berserk characters that actually look pretty fucking decent, go and watch the Berserk 90s adaptation. Also worth noting, the Berserk 90s anime adaptation probably has one of the best anime openings from the 90s, and y'all can fight me on that if you disagree. So put your glasses on, nothing will be wrong. There's no flame, there's no fake, it's up to you. Malaka Box needs another season. They left everyone off with a cliffhanger when Kumagawa Mizogi finally appeared in the anime. They gave him a special episode, but that was it. I think it would be a great way to have the anime make a comeback after so long. Hell the yeah, it does! Malaka Box was just a series, not just in the anime department, but in its original Shonen Jump manga adaptation, that, as much as I hate using this word, I feel was really underrated. And I don't know, it might be because it was created by Nishio Ishin, who has a very weird style of storytelling and wordplay that doesn't quite translate well to other languages, especially to English. And probably because of that strange way of writing that Nishio Ishin is quite well known for, and the very unorthodox nature of the narrative that is very different to a lot of Shonen Jump stuff that has or will ever be on that magazine. It just felt really kind of out of place in a Shonen Jump magazine when it was serializing. But again, that's not to say that the show was bad in any way. No way, it was amazing. And if you are fans of Nishio Ishin, I highly implore you to read it and go check it out. I'm gonna say read it, don't watch it. The anime, no. Because I feel the anime adaptation really did cut off at a pretty weak point in the story. As the tweet suggests, they cut it off when this particular character called Kumagawa Misogi came out, and for those of you who have read the Malaka Box manga, you will know how important this character is, especially to the second half of the series where shit gets real. And when I say shit gets real, I mean shit gets real. It legit pulls a Dragon Ball and goes from an everyday, like, just high school day-to-day life of, like, you know, solving crimes in the school because we're good student council students, to some straight up just hardcore action and battling and just ridiculous fight scenes that I have ever seen. And yes, there have been plenty of shonen series that have done this in the past. Case in point, the Dragon Ball manga, Yu Yu Hakusho, you name it. But Malaka Box does all of this in a very intelligent and classy way. Again, this is Nishio Ishin we're talking about. Not only do I value him as one of the most intelligent authors in all of Japanese literacy, yes, I went that far, but his skill and presentation when it comes to wordplay in a narrative format is unparalleled. This guy makes Japanese literacy and linguistics freaks come in their pants because of how intelligent some of these character choices are, some of these character names are, some of these move names are, some of the games that you find in the Malaka Box story, especially when it comes to the second half, is like shit that you could turn into a board game and make your first million out of. So yes, I definitely do agree, Malaka Box was absolutely robbed, especially in its anime adaptation and with just how it was I guess, critiqued and looked at, especially from the West. So if you haven't checked out Malaka Box, please go and check it out. It's fucking amazing, trust me. The golden age of anime was 1979 to 1999, and nothing will top that. 95% of all modern anime are trash. Ooh, the early 2000s would like to have a word with you, buddy. Listen, I get it, you're probably just one of those weird boomers who's like, everything after the 2000s during the moe movement is all trash. And look, I understand that a lot of old-time anime fans are probably thrown off, especially by the moe movement of the early 2000s. We saw a lot of iyashike, slice-of-life shows that had a very moe aspect when it came to their art style and presentation. But don't let that into thinking that all 2000s shows were like that. No, if anything, the early 2000s, a lot of people will actually call the real golden age of anime. More specifically, in my opinion, anywhere from 2004 to 2009 was an absolute peak of anime. And that's not to say that stuff from the 70s, 80s, and 90s are all shit or not worth exploring. They definitely are, especially if you're a long-time anime fan and you've exhausted your limitations of everything that the 2000s have had to offer. Go back to the previous century and check out some shows from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, because there is a reason why some of these series are still talked about to this day. They are the giants whose shoulders the early 2000s anime have stood on to try and become better. I mean, there's a reason that after all of these countless amounts of anime that have come out, shows like Legend of the Galactic Heroes are still considered one of the greatest anime to be ever made. There's a reason why movies like Akira are still deemed as amazing pieces of artwork that the anime industry had to offer us. But yeah, dude, don't let your cloud of judgment into dictating that all 2000 shows were trash. There are some amazing 2000 shows out there. Suzumiya Haruhi, Lucky Star, Nichijou, everything from this century, which I talked about in my top 10 anime series of this decade. There's a lot of great shows, so open your mind and check them out. Carol and Tuesday is the best music-themed anime of all time. Oh, I really don't want to disagree with you, but I just love Beck and Nana too much. I really do. Those two were absolutely flawless when it came to the story and characters and how they explored the whole music genre of things. As much as I love Carol and Tuesday, and as much as I think Watanabe Shinichiro is an absolute genius in the making, I did find some slight narrative problems with Carol and Tuesday, especially during the second half of the first season, like during the whole American Idol arc, if you'd like to call it, of Carol and Tuesday. As much as I love that arc, there was just something missing in that entire show, and I've been trying to figure out what exactly was missing in that show, but just there was something missing in that show that shows like Beck and Nana managed to fill the gaps in with absolutely no problems. But again, Carol and Tuesday is an amazing show. Watanabe Shinichiro, absolute genius. So if you love your music theme stuff, please go and check it out. BStars is not furry shit. People need to stop saying that. Yes! 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 Yes, they do! But I mean, look, listen up, BStars stans. You know, brothers and sisters, I'm a BStars stan too, so come closer. If a bunch of people don't like BStars and think it's just furry shit, that's just more BStars for us, you feel me, dog? No, but to be fair, I do understand why a lot of people are thrown off with that show, and if you need a little bit more in-depth analysis into why I think BStars is one of the greatest manga series to come out in a very, very long time, an absolute modern masterpiece, as I like to call it, I did a whole video on BStars. You can check that out, links in the description, or you can click that card up on the top. If an anime becomes popular, it means that it's actually good. It's popular for a reason, and you can't argue that. Those who hate on it, hate it because of its popularity. Now, I would like to agree and disagree with this point, and let me explain. I disagree with the point of because an anime is good, that's why it is popular. That, I feel, is very misjudged in a way. Because here's the thing, the value of something that is good is not equivalent to the value of something that is popular. Because popularity is objective. You can see that it is popular. Everybody can agree that Justin Bieber is a popular artist, and the facts show it, the numbers show it. He's sold millions of records, he has millions of fans all over the world. Every time he holds a concert, there are hundreds and thousands of people scrambling to get those tickets. While the value of something that is good is subjective. It depends on the person rating that show. Just because there are millions of fanboys and fangirls of Justin Bieber who will be very happy to come up to me and tell me a million reasons as to why he's the best artist that has ever lived, I can stand back and be like, I really don't care. I'm just not really into him. And that's why I completely disagree with this whole sentiment of good equals popular, because if that was the case, then we would just be watching and consuming the same shit because we'll all like it. People who don't care about the artistic value of something will enjoy it because it's popular, and people who do care about the artistic integrity of something will also not care because it's good objectively. So that probably explains why you get a bunch of people scrambling onto a popular show and reminding you of just because it's popular, it doesn't mean it's good, because obviously those people don't care that that show is popular. In an artistic integrity setting, that show may not necessarily be good. Because if you were asking my humble opinion, for example, and you were like,
oh, good equals popular and popular equals good,
then how come good shows like Tatami Galaxy or Akunohana or Legend of the Galactic Heroes is not as popular as shows as Fairy Tail and Sword Art Online? Because again, popularity does not equal good, and it will never mean the same thing. So please just understand that when you openly stan a particular series or stan a particular thing that you like because it's popular, don't be surprised when there are a bunch of people who will remind you that popularity does not equal good, because it really doesn't. It's not a synonym. When you look up in the thesaurus the word good, you will not find the word popular. Other than that though, just like what you like, man. And finally, Nekopara Anime shouldn't be criticized as a show for perverts or people with weird fetishes, as it focuses on catgirls doing cute things and nothing more than that, and all the people who criticize it are a bunch of double morale, uptight crybabies. Yes, that is actually true. Listen man, I'm not afraid to admit, I think Nekopara's awesome, because again, it's just a dumb little visual novel, a dumb little eroge of people who are into these certain types of girls, namely catgirls, who, you know, just want to maybe fantasize about boning a couple of them. And it pisses me the off when there are a bunch of people, especially recently on Twitter, with the whole Nekopara anime adaptation, because for some reason when a show gets an anime, it immediately is open to any kind of moral criticism and political arguments whatsoever. And then you get a bunch of people coming out to remind you that these catgirls are only 3 years old. Yes, that may be true, but they're also just a bunch of lines on a paper. You didn't have a problem with this show when it was a dumb little visual novel slash eroge and the girls were actually getting in the game. And then you suddenly come over to this very family-friendly anime adaptation that people just wanted to do because there are a lot of hidden fans of this particular series, and suddenly there's a problem with this fictional main character. Fictional catgirls. Like, really? This is why I feel that bringing anime over to the West was such a big mistake, because now we're getting all of these political SJW tards who are just really quick to tell you that, no, this is morally wrong, Japan. This is morally wrong. You gotta follow our moral rules now, bitch. Like, no. Just let them make what they want to make, bro. It's not harming any cats. No cats were harmed in the making of this anime. Just let them be. Just let people like this show, just let people like the stuff that they like, and move the on. I can definitely tell you this anime wasn't made with the intent to stir people up in the West to be like, yes, you can your cats now, go ahead, we allow it. Like, no, it's just a bit of fun, it's just a little bit of trash that we want to consume every now and then, because sometimes humans just want to consume trash, alright? Just let them consume their trash. It's not hurting you, it's not hurting anyone. Just let them consume the trash. You can say your opinions if you would like to. I'm not saying that you shouldn't say your opinions. Go for it, dude. Free world. But don't be surprised when no one is listening or caring. Anyways, now that that's off my chest, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you very much once again for joining into another episode of Let's Fight. Thank you to everybody who brought about your spicy, hot opinions. I appreciate every single one of you. Let me know what your thoughts are about any of the things that I mentioned, any of the things I talked about, any of the topics I brought up down in the description below. That's always a great place for you guys to talk about your feelings and your opinions about anything I talked about in more detail, and I love reading them every now and then. And if you would like to participate on the next episode of Let's Fight, then make sure to follow your boy over on Twitter. Use that hashtag Let's Fight and get ready to make me eat all of those spicy and hot opinions because I love it. I'm glad that you guys are still enjoying this show. I love making them. You guys love watching them. Everybody wins. So thank you once again. If you'd like to check out any of the previous episode of Let's Fight, then make sure to, again, click that link down in the description below, or you can tap that card right there on the screen right there. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Like and favorite if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more anime banter. Keep watching anime. Ciao ne!